time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Is self-doubt or imposter syndrome holding you and your business back? That is the question we want to answer today, and also help you figure out how to get past it if that is holding you back, if it is something you struggle with. And I have to say, from being a human being for my whole life, I think we all go through that. It's a very natural thing, but let's help you get past it and finally get over it. I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Albert Bramante. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to be here on this wonderful show. I'm happy to help in any way possible.
Well, this is going to be a good one because, as I hinted at, I think everybody struggles with this in some degree, and it's kind of a big topic to tackle in 15 minutes, but we're going to do it. We're going to do our best, and you're an expert in this area because you've also personally struggled with it. So let's start at the beginning. I want to hear your story of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and self-sabotage. Where did that start to show up for you in your life?
Well, to be quite honest with you, to give you the Cliff Notes version of this, my childhood. And growing up in a family where I was a different child. I was not an athlete. My whole entire family were athletes and really into sports, and that was great. That wasn't for me. I was into reading, I was into books, I was into science, I was into all of the stuff that they were not. And they were interested in stuff that I was not interested in. So for I think most of my life I always felt kind of like I didn't belong. I didn't quite intellectually as a child. Of course, I didn't intellectually understand what was happening, and that there was nothing wrong with me or them. It was just the reality of the situation. So I would say most of my adult life, I fell into like the people pleasing trap, the trap of trying to make everyone happy, which, as we all know, does not work and is not going to be an effective strategy just overall. So I would say I most likely sabotaged a lot because of that, trying to make everyone happy and everyone to like me and all of that stuff. I also have struggled a lot, and I still work, because I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect in any way. I Procrastination is a strong thing for me. At least I'm working on it and better at it, but it's still a thing that affects me, and and it affects everyone. I mean, Doctor, almost everyone has some tendency to procrastinate. So, and what I found in my work was that with procrastination, it's a normal process, and B, it's also a symptom of a deeper issue. So it's great to work on the procrastination, obviously by time blocking and scheduling, which is important. However, there's a deeper meaning for that on the psychological level. It's a trauma response. It's actually a much deeper issue that has to be kind of worked with. So, for coaches or for thought leaders that are working with people in the space of procrastination, I think there's should be another element added to that. Doing some deeper work. Now, maybe that specific coach or leader may not be able to equipped to handle that, but suggesting that for someone to go for help in addition to the business coaching that they're getting onto. So there's those issues, and for me, I wrote a book in 2024, which Rise Above the Script, and what for me the book almost never happened, and the path that I was on, it was never going to happen. Now that I look back and it kept saying, someday I'm going to write a book, someday you're going to write a book. I sit in front of the computer, write a couple of paragraphs, and be so frustrated at what came out, the output, and I would self-edit, and then eventually just delete and put the whole thing in my recycling bin. And I'm at the blank page again. And I kept thinking for a while, man, I just can't do this. And it wasn't until I heard a sobering statistic back in early 2023, which is that only 1% of people who say they want to write a book will actually do it.
That's
And I'm not
interesting.
sure.
I've never heard that.
I'm not exactly sure it's 1%. That might be more of an exaggeration. However, it really was like something that snapped and said, "Okay, let's do this." So, so another thing with self doubt comes with again with procrastination is perfectionism and the needing to be perfect. The, for me, in my case, the draft had to be perfect, and if it wasn't, it was. But the reality is, there's no such thing as perfect. And I know this is going to sound cliche. We've heard this, so many times before that it's better to do something imperfect than to do nothing at all.
Hmm.
So for me, it was just that was kind of like another snap that said, okay, just write the darn thing and get it over with. And to overcome my again the perfectionism procrastination side of things, a technique that I learned, and this is good for anybody who's listening that writes, is to not self-edit while you're writing. Write first, then go back and self-edit. And that really was a game changer for me because I just wrote for like a time block 90 minutes to 120 minutes a day. And again, for those of you listening, maybe that might not be a realistic number for you, even 30 minutes, whatever it is, but just time block it, put it on your schedule. And that helped me, in a sense, put me into a state of action. So that kind of like is my issue with self doubt. And it was such a confidence booster when I actually had a manuscript not only completed, and then the next phase was the editing phase by a professional editor, and then cover design and having the formatting, and then actually having the physical copy of my book in my hands was an out of this world experience.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to describe all of that because you really have a lot of things going on. It's the procrastination, like you said, the self-doubt, the self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome, um, and also the perfectionism, which I know, between that and procrastination, those are two huge ones that people, I mean, even our clients are dealing with those on a daily basis. I deal with those all the time. I like to call it strategic procrastination though, because I don't miss deadlines, but I don't always do things early.
Yeah.
That's me convincing myself that I'm not procrastinating. But anyway, that's a whole different psychological issue. Um, but that's a lot of stuff that could easily and does easily hold people back every single day. So you mentioned the time blocking, you mentioned the eliminating self editing. I'm even thinking, like I'm literally procrastinating something right now as we speak that I promised myself I was going to do it last week, and there's no forecast of when I'm going to get it done because I'm not going to see the results for a few weeks or a few months until after I get it done. So I'm like, oh man, if I don't get that instant gratification, I just don't even want to put the effort into it because I know it's going to suck while I'm doing it. It's the same thing with a book, right? Like, because you have to write it, you have to edit, format, cover design, all the things you said.
Mhm.
What is it that you do now to help you just say, okay, I'm setting aside the time, I'm going to do this thing? Do you set little milestones that you can pat yourself on the back? Like, what is it that helps you get past all of those things that are holding you back?
Well, definitely the milestones that's the most important thing is the milestones, and also scheduling on your calendar. Not just someday I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
Okay, when? Now, even in your case or anybody's case that's these monumental tasks ahead of them, break it down and say, okay, what are the maybe the 6 or 7 or even 10 steps that need to be done? And maybe I'll tackle 1 and 2 today, and then 3 and 4 tomorrow, and actually map it out and say, so this way by the end of the week or the end of 2 weeks, it's done, it's complete. Rather than I know I have to get this done, and this is why most productivity experts will tell you that to-do lists are not as effective than action steps because
Mm.
what happens is the to-do list can grow and grow and grow to a point where you're just looking at a long list and saying tomorrow Okay. And oftentimes, what I hear a lot of people say when they with procrastination, I just don't have the time. You do, because you spend maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes when you're waking up, doom scrolling on social media on your phone. You spend a lot of time on social media that we don't even realize you're doing, aimlessly scrolling, which even if it's a half an hour doing that, that's a half an hour that you could have been using to get one of those checklists or milestones complete of your project that needs to be complete. So the important thing is to take action. And one of my coaches has a really good saying of "Sunday's not a day on the calendar." So when people say, "Well, someday I'll do this," no, today or tomorrow, or start today. Just like and I know this may be a little controversial, but I feel like even New Year's resolutions are overrated. And well, I'll wait till the new year to do this hobby or clean this out or do whatever I need to do. And so why does it have to be New Year? Why can't it be tonight? Today you start. And again, don't complete it. See, even in my book, I talk about with goals is like the smart mindset, the smart goals, which are like very specific, manageable, in a sense, actionable in a sense, and be able to track it. So breaking a SMART goal down into different steps is important. Because if you say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to write a book. Well, okay, what are the steps in writing a book? Okay, the first thing is an outline, then a a theme, and then you start filling in the outline and do one or two pieces of your outline a day. Like for me, what I did is I outlined the chapters. I said, okay, these are chapters I'm going to have. This is the outline of each chapter. That was the next step, and then I went in and said, okay, today I'm going to work on chapter one, and maybe do two or three of the bullet points in chapter one outline, and breaking it down into manageable steps. So that's why I was able to in 2 months. I wasn't just coming up with no system. So I was able to come up with a system. So systems are important, especially for entrepreneurs, having a system on things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a system that works for everybody. It could be your own system.
It arguably it should be your own system because then
Yeah.
you're actually going to use it. But I think what you're hitting on there is this theory of it's not even a theory, just the ambiguity of it, right? If you haven't broken down a goal into the specific steps you need to take,
Mhm.
the milestones, because writing a book is one thing, but that's a
Right.
huge task. Like there's so much that goes into writing a book versus today I'm just going to research all of the books that have been written in this area, see which ones I agree with, which ones I disagree with, whatever it may be. Or today I'm going to write the outline and figure out what 12 chapters I want in this book. That's a
Hmm.
whole lot easier to start than tomorrow I'm going to start writing my book. Like that's
Exactly.
crazy.
And that's what I was doing, and that's why I kept starting and stopping until I said, okay, well, let me first come up with an outline. Where do I want the book to go? I started like mapping out the book. What direction do I want it to go in? What topics do I want to talk about? And I started listening to the topics. Okay, let me organize these into sections and chapters. And then once I had that, I said, okay, now I'm going to come up with subheadings in each chapter, and then I went back and started writing. So instead of just starting writing, which I was doing, I had like eight. I was already doing like 5 steps beforehand, which really helped me stay focused. And then I started writing. And one of the things I found for me was how easier it was. It was a total game changer by when I mapped things out versus when I was just sitting in front of a blank page. Like, what am I going to write for chapter one? Now I already had it mapped out, and
Mhm.
it was just a natural transition after that, just to start uh, filling the text and filling up the narrative and telling the stories. So it's just a much easier, more linear process. And again, when I say about systems, I mean, because there's a lot of great thought leaders out there. We have Alex Ramosi, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk. That's great, and we can adapt from them, but we still should make it our own because we're not that. We're our own person. So we can use them for guidance, but again, we need to develop a system that works for us because their system may not work entirely for us.
Yeah. And to be fair, their systems are probably an amalgamation of three, four, 10 other people's systems anyway. So why are we not doing the same thing for
Ex-
our lives?
Exactly, because even though they're great and all, but they're kind of reinventing the wheel. It's not
Mhm.
like, oh, hey, I'm doing this. Because even Tony Robbins, for instance, one of the number one coaches, there were a bunch of other people that he borrowed, combined his systems with. So it's not that. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay attention. I think we should, but it's important to also adapt it to our own because that's the more likely we're going to follow through is when it becomes more authentically our own system.
Yeah, I agree. I love this. This is stuff that we need to hear and we need to put in practice because I think at some point we all kind of fall back into that procrastination, whether it's self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or just perfectionism.
Hmm.
There's something getting in the way of us achieving our goals in business, in life, and I love having these refreshers of just, okay, listen, it's human, we're all doing it, let's just get
Right.
past it, let's take it step by step. So Dr. Albert, thank you so much for being here. If the listeners want to reach out, connect with you, learn more about you, where's the best place to go?
Well, you can go to my website, albertbramante.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Albert Bramante, Instagram, Dr. Albert Bramante. I'd love to connect. I post a lot of content on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and you can follow up want to schedule a call. Just send me a message.
I love it. All those links are down below in the show notes wherever you're watching or listening. Dr. Albert, thanks so much for joining us.
And thank you for having me.
So I hope we answered the question for you listening. How do you get past imposter syndrome? Are you struggling with it? Self-doubt, all of those things. Put something in practice from this episode. If you struggle with any of that, anything we talked about, go take action on it. Re-listen to this episode, pull out the nuggets, and we'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in your life and business. For cutting-edge tools that bring clarity to your people and processes, check out humanoff.com.